check this video out.
So today I find myself driving in Madisonville. It was only about an hour away from my house, so I could sit down, have an interview and a conversation with Miss Aria Giacomelli from Samba Kennels.
She's just kind of giving her word and story, but I kind of want to get into the conversation. So Raul of QBN Kennel had stated in a couple of videos prior to this sit-down interview that he did with the most prominent Brazilian pit monster breeder in the United States. He was saying that the pit monster should not be mixed with XL bullies, and that they just add a whole different set of problems to the XL bullies, and that things like unknown temperament and health concerns and issues that may arise, and that the XL bully has enough issues unto itself to be mixing in this type of dog within the bully world. And he was completely against it, and he, I think, had some negative feelings towards herself because she was openly mixing XLs and Brazilian pit monsters, and then also kind of a big proponent of trying to get the Brazilian dogs recognized. I think she was kind of the prominent one to get them ABKC to recognize them or whatever as, I think, XL bullies. I don't know. But now they're talking about splitting the two styles up.
Called Brazilla.
Brazilla, okay, yeah.
After I imported Klaus from Canil Rocha. But I want to make sure that
she's got a famous Brazilian pit monster dog that's been used quite a bit, and his name is Klaus. So everybody, I'm sure she sold a lot of stud credits through him.
Here, I don't want to be unfair to anybody. Before me, there were a lot of other breeders that have imported dogs from Brazil.
Sure.
Yeah. The only difference is that they hid the dogs. They changed their names. They didn't want to let anybody know what the source was. And I thought, me as a Brazilian, as patriotic as I am, I didn't think it was fair for the Brazilian.
Yeah, why would they do that? They probably saw those dogs and said, wait a minute, those are actually what we were trying to breed towards. Why aren't we going to a dog that's actually a bully, that actually looks like a bully, that has obviously has got more bulldog in it? Well, you can't have bully without bulldog.
To export dogs, because back then people were like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna make you famous, and your name's gonna be everywhere," and they just simply never even tagged the owners.
Right.
Maybe tagged once and never again. So what I did, I said I want to do right by my people, and they have beautiful dogs. So when I started importing these Brazilian bulls or the pit monsters, I started promoting their source, where I got them from. I started promoting these dogs are from Brazil. These what Brazilian breeders are doing. And mind you, there's a lot of Brazilian breeders that do a great work as here. A lot of Brazilian breeders are not doing a great job, and I'm only going to refer myself to the ones that are doing a great job, as we should. Okay.
Okay.
So I saw a lot of breeders health testing. I saw a lot of breeders over there in Brazil. I saw a lot of breeders breeding for type.
So you're saying that they were actually health testing in Brazil? Embark or some other?
They don't have Embark.
Okay.
So the xenophilia in Brazil, the passion for dogs is very, very big. We have the second biggest pet market in the world after America.
Okay.
And people are just in love with not only pets, but we have high quality breeders over there for many breeds. If you go to a dog,
Brazilians seem to have a really strong canine culture, and they like to develop their own style of dogs. It's probably a lot of it is the European influence, I'm sure, and then maybe North American as well. Who knows?
I already had a different
approach
of what I wanted. So I was looking for breeders that were reputable, that did health testing, and that give that would
She's
give
just
me
kind
some
of validating
background
her
information
lot.
on these
She
dogs.
bred Dogo Argentinos for many years.
All of those 20 years of experience, all of my traveling all over the world for dog shows, I traveled 42 countries. I've exported for almost, I think, 60 countries.
Right.
We've got 100 champions and almost 30 grand champions, or 35. I've lost my count.
She's
I
talking
was
about
telling her sometimes
doggos.
they're my dogs from my kennel, but not my. Okay, my success, I believe my success here in America has to do with all of the 20 years that I have, because I know what I want, I know what to look for, and I know how to look for it and how to discipline myself on a consistent work to get where I want. So it was easy for me to find in Brazil. I saw what I wanted, and the funny thing is, 5 years ago, like you were saying, from 5 years to now, the XL bullies are getting better in type. But 5 years ago, if you go to a dog show, you're gonna see, let's say you have in the XL class 5 dogs, you're gonna see 5 different breeds. Okay.
I agree with you.
And if I had Tractor within those 5 dogs, he would probably win the best XL, even though he's not a true XL. Like he did in nationals. And I'm not saying that he's better than the other dogs. It's just he was judged by what the judge was seeing that day. Okay, and the other days that he made it there.
So you would agree with me, and you have agreed with me, that I can tell you the American Bully as a whole, but particularly the XL, which in my opinion is the newest of all the other classes, because of the heavy influence of Mastiffs and everything else that got brought in. And we can tell by just looking at the classes that the XL is still volatile. It hasn't gelled. It hasn't fixed yet. And
I don't think there's any bully that is gelled. I think that there's just so much messing around and so much you can do with these dogs with the genetics that are given. You have to go outside and look outside the current genetic pool. You see some of these standard dogs today in the pocket realm. It's obvious they're using bulldogs of all sorts, and it's obvious that they're using whatever it takes to create that bulliness, and they will have to continue to use that, because you'll lose that in a few generations unless you keep it up. And then you keep it up, then you create other issues, but who am I? I'm not a breeder, not an expert. I'm just going off by things that anecdotal evidence through years of owning bull breeds, and then also from researching and talking to professionals.
So, not my opposition, but my point is bringing in anything from the outside more, rather than enhancing what we currently have, could actually be an extra variable in this big, gumbo soup that we got going on.
Don't get mad at me, but I'm gonna have to answer what I think.
Please.
If you have a breed that is volatile and it's going in different directions, and I know why the XL is going in different directions, it's because everybody's breeding for size or color and not breed type. If everybody was only focusing on breed type, since it started, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago, the
20
XLs,
years ago,
yeah, the breed would have been advanced. But because of size,
Mm-hmm.
when you bring size in the question, You also bring egos, and you also bring, oh, I want to have the biggest and the heaviest. I don't even answer my messages when people say, hey, what's the stats of your dogs? I mean, I do it because I'm polite. But I
Right.
said, hi, listen, why are you worried about the stats? It's within the standard. Look at my dog. As long as it's a harmonic dog and it's within the standard, it's a breed type dog, why do you care about the stats? Stats is not the first priority.
Let me ask you this. You have stated that you've been importing, exporting, you've been breeding, you've been around, whether it's this breed or another breed, you've been around breeding and whatnot and showing for at least 20 years. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Okay. What do you think? Why do you think that here people are able to breed for size or for color or breeding for themselves rather than breeding for the standard? Do you think it's got something to do with the registry? Do you think it's simply greed? Do you think it has to do with the market? What do you think is the main contributor to?
All of the above. But, breeding to a standard other than health, temperament, um, proper structure that leads to good health. Then you think about fulfilling a market and then breeding a dog that is going to appeal to more people. If you're going to breed, you got to sell the puppies. So they have to be marketable in some sense. And so I think it's ridiculous to say that looks don't matter. Looks absolutely matter in breeding dogs, and you have to fulfill that market, and you have to definitely market yourself within that market, and to be able to make yourself stand out and appealing to people. And so one way you do that is breed quality, good looking dogs. It's what people want.
The American Bully XL being all over the place?
That's an easy question, Raul. I think it's about money. Okay? People are chasing money. People are chasing what will sell more. What will sell more? Size and color. But is that what's going to make the breed more consistent? No,
Okay.
you know. So if everybody was going after breed type first instead of color or size, the breed would have been more stable by now. Okay. So when you ask me, isn't it dangerous to bring another breed now? If the other breed is bringing attributes for the American Bully to become the real American Bully, because we are in the embryo stage of the breed, why not?
Well, you just
I agree 100%. She's right. You know, um, what do you have to lose? You know, uh, if these Brazilian dogs check every box, what are you waiting for? You know,
stated that size is what sells. We're very aware of this. I think that one of the things that appeals to the American public the most about the Pit Monster is the fact that at the XL height or level or attributes, if you want to call them that, they have less Mastiff and more maybe American Bulldog. And therefore, rather than being just taller, they're actually wider with more girth. Um, and I can attribute I can agree to that, especially after seeing your dog today. But with that being said, whatever the Pit Monster, or better yet the Brazilian Bull, can bring to the table, my biggest concern is this breed has only been around 10 years. So the American Bully has been around 20 years. The XL hasn't gelled. I'm not saying that the Brazilian Monster hasn't gelled. You may have a different of opinion, and I would probably value your opinion on that breed more than mine.
mm, I don't know what his point is here. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. if the formula isn't right, it isn't what the end game that people say they want, then these Brazilian dogs are. Who cares if it's been 10 years? They're obviously are ahead of the curve, and you know, their formula is correct. You need bulldog if you want those big chests, shape of the head. You need American bulldog. You need oldies, and just like the pockets need oldies, need English. So,
But my concern is that it's so new that when brought in, now we have another variable on temperament. So let me ask you this: how close behind of your dogs in general, you don't have to be specific, is there American Bulldog behind them? How many generations?
I just find like there's just so many fakers out there. There's even a couple of dog channels that have been real obvious about buying followers and comments and everything else. So, and they're just really crappy content and lowbrow stuff. So, to me, it's embarrassing if you're that. And what's even worse is YouTube seems to allow it. And I look on Social Blade, and if Social Blade is even halfway true, there's one of these channels that obviously is bot views, and they're making a pretty penny off those bot views. If Social Blade is anyway halfway accurate, like they made more money in 1 month than I made in the whole year with YouTube. I mean, probably tripled my money. So, and then it's funny, you see them in other months, they're making right around what I'm making. So I don't get it, but yeah, and YouTube allows it. They wouldn't allow it with me. I'm not the right kind of person for them to allow me to fake the funk. A middle-aged ghost face ain't gonna be is not high on their list of people to allow to fake the funk. So anyway, I hope some people got a little bit out of the Brazilian pit monster debate. I'll watch the second half maybe tomorrow. What they were saying, we'll see. I thought it's interesting. I like the XL bullies. I think some of them look really impressive. I really like, Earl's dog from Sumo Bully Kennels. He's got a couple nice, what you would call, I guess, traditional American XL bullies. I really like this hybrid dog. But I also like the Brazilian bulls, what formerly Brazilian pit monsters. Finished where I started the other day. This fucking microphone. I love it so much, but I just don't. Anyway. Fuck. It'll really fucking piss me off. Oh, fuck it.
In 7th generation, which is super young, super close. Shake, he's an F3, which means his grandsire is an American Bulldog. And on the other side, he's an American Bully. Buchanan's is an F2, just like Tractor. She's a daughter of an F1. And F1 means filial, for everybody that don't know, meaning the affiliation in the breed. So if you have two F1s, or if you have F1 means a son or a daughter of two different breeds, okay? I'm sure that you've already.
It's when you mix them, yes.
Yes. So I have the 2nd generation from that. And then I have the 3rd generation from that.
Okay. So, hearing you speak, not all your dogs have American Bulldog.
No,
Some are just strictly American Bully with pit.
but they are considered, they are registered as pit monsters in
Okay.
Brazil, but they are more similar. The blood is more similar to the XL American Bully because it has the base.
Well, the similarity is there. I'm not gonna. I do see a lot of similarities, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because, again, I'm looking at from the outside. I'm looking in. Okay, I'm looking at the pit monster, and what I'm seeing is also another breed that's still in its embryonic stage.
Yes.
It's not, we're not talking 6, 7, 8 generations of this particular breed. We're not at F8. Is what I'm saying. And it was my proposal.
Yeah, let's say if you are in an F8, but you're still an American Bully, and it's still not, a breed that's uniformed. It's still not a breed. It's a breed that continues to be tinkered with. It continues to evolve into different ways of doing things, different ways of different looks. Sure, the similarities to the original dog to where it is now is there, but the overall idea of the dog is changed. To me, it seems like they've taken the word bully, taken that meaning to mean extreme instead of meaning bull, breed, bully, or type dog. And you get what you get. But if you're looking for an XL bully to exude bully type features, you can't go any further than at this point in time than into the Brazilian dogs. They just have what it takes at this moment, in my opinion. What I like about the XL bullies is they're nice looking dogs. They created a style of dog using different kinds of breeds, and they built their own composite breed. They're nice looking dogs, but temperament wise, consistency, health, I don't know where any of it is in that matter. So like I said, it could be an F8 or an F100. There is no necessarily unified front with these dogs, and you're not going to get it in a community that is like the American Bully community. And I think in some regards, it's not a bad thing. I kind of like the idea of going against the grain, but at the same time, you got so many people that are saying, breed to the standard. Your own breed clubs are not following the standards. They're changing what those standards mean on a daily basis, it seems like, and it's their own interpretation, and it just doesn't seem like it's a consistent thread of ideas and looks and breeding practices and everything else.
On the live that I said, I would love to see the ABKC recognize the pit monster, because I think the pit monster definitely brings some attributes that are there. Okay, what we don't know is what's under the hood. Just one thing. So
that's kind of a weird statement. You don't know what's under the hood, but you don't know what's under the hood with these bullies. These bullies have been paper hung and I mean, come on. I mean, those dogs have been been people have been faking the funk for a long time. I mean, like I said before in the previous live that I did, they wouldn't even admit that there was Bulldog 5-6 years ago, and then the American Bullies, you know. And now you want to know what's under the hood with the Pit Monsters. I would assume that we probably know a little bit more about the Pit Monsters than we do the American Bully XL Pocket, whatever. I don't know. I think that's kind of a weird statement. But I understand where people are coming from. You're putting your heart and your blood and sweat and tears into a program, and you're trying to do it the right way, like this individual seems to be doing, and you don't want anything to mess it up, and you don't want people to usurp the rules of engagement, so to speak, and muddy the waters even more. But I think really, in reality, unfortunately, you're going to need a whole lot of changes. And really, it's a type of dog that you can just, do your best to live by some sort of standard, but in essence, just do your own thing and figure your own way out, and breed good dogs that people want, and build your business off of that instead of worrying about ribbons and arbitrary titles or whatever. I mean, just your customers are your customer base is should be your trophies and your titles. It's who buys your puppies and how much your stud dogs go for. That should be the mark of how successful your kennel is, instead of how many ribbons you have and all of that. I know people want to win those ribbons and those titles and stuff so they can sell their stud credits for astronomical fees, or their puppies for $10,000 a pop or whatever. But those days are gone, in my opinion. And the only people that are paying that money is the top 5%, and they'll continue to do it, and they'll continue to play the game, and because they can, and it's not just a game of the rich get richer. It's a game of shuffling paper. It's a lack of a better terms, it's money laundering. It's a tax scheme. It's like a business who has a surplus that needs a tax write-off, so they make a big purchase at the end of the year, that type of thing. So they, in essence, they spend $100,000 so they don't pay $200,000 in taxes. It's that kind of thing. In my opinion, it's not. And the little man, the guy that's, struggling to make his way through the dog world and breeds 1 or 2 good litters a year, and doesn't really get any recognition because he doesn't have a name in the dog world. He may have good dogs and everything, but they're gonna lose out in today's world. It's in breeding. That's another subject.
Idea is, what if the Pit Monsters recognized for, say, another 5 or 10 years, I don't know, 5 years, and then at that point, if it's more set, because in 5 years in breeding, it's 2 more generations. In essence, they say that you can call a bloodline after 4 generations. And my honest opinion is really 6 or 8. Okay.
6, yeah.
6 or 8. So my point is, let's say we went on another 8 years, give you another 4 generations of the Pit Monster before bringing it in. Do you think that's a better idea to maybe wait that long, or do you think now would be the time?
I think I think by that time, I mean, in Brazil, they don't want our dogs breeding to American Bullies. They don't want to bring bulliness to the big monsters because this is what differentiates. One of the things that differentiates the Brazilian Bulls big monsters to the American Bullies is the athleticism. They're not supposed to be fat dogs. The skin, it's tighter skin, the muscles, the athleticism, the head shape. And another thing, everybody talks about their eyes.
Yes.
Something that I want to talk about.
Okay.
We are still in the embryo stage of the breed. We're still adjusting into the breed. And because of the closeness to the American Bulldogs, we will get in the first generations the eyes closer together. But I'm the first one to say, because I've had a few litters of Brazilian Bulls or pit monsters to American Bully XLs, and in the first generation, that's completely gone.
Okay.
And
so it's not a dominant trait, is what you're saying. It's not something that is dominant, that it's going to be passed on.
As long as you don't breed to another dog that it has close eyes.
Close eyes,
yes.
Okay. Close set, okay.
But the idea is, and I don't want to disagree with you because I do want the Brazilian Bulls to be separate breed.
Okay.
But as far as genetics, as far as breeding knowledge that I know I have a little bit, if a breed is still in formation, and if we have something to bring in that has the same base, that's very important. We're not bringing a dog that is a greyhound. We're not bringing a bull mastiff. We're talking about breeds that were used for the formation of the breed. Whether you know it or not, I'm sure they used American Bulldogs to make the pockets.
I am certain that every big dog was used. Yes. I have no question of that.
Especially when we're talking about the volatility of the looks. And you see, going to a dog show, that's where you see, that's the thermometer of the breed.
Sure.
So, is this what I want? No, I don't think that's healthy for the Brazilian Bulls. Why? Because they already have a consistent type. And this is what I wanted to tell you. When you were saying about the age, I don't think that age determines success and results.
Okay.
Let's compare two businesses, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I like what she said, that they share a lot of the same genetics and everything like that. So what's the rub here? But two different breeds. I guess for marketability, it would be interesting to have the Brazilian Bulls or pit monsters, whatever you want to call them now. I think they said they want to get away from the term pit monster. Are they going to allow XL Bullies to be used in Brazilian Bulls? I mean, I guess they already have. So it sounds like, what are the 50-50 crosses? How are they going to be registered? I guess it's up to, I don't know. Interesting. Not my world, but interesting idea itself.
I have a business that has been around for 20 years, but it's very unorganized. Mm-hmm. I don't have a business plan. I have a cycling of staff. It's a very inconsistent business. And then there's a new guy with another business across the street, and it's been there for 5 years. And they have customer reviews 5 stars all the time. They have always a full house. They have a lot of sales. Everybody loves it. But they've only been around for 5 years because he started with a business plan. He started with a consistent staff, consistent training. And this is the difference in Brazil. Brazilians are and I'm not saying they're better than here. Please don't understand it wrong. But I'm saying what I see in Brazil, we have a lot of people in Brazil breed for passion more than for the money. Especially because breeding over there is like any country in South America. It's very hard. if you're doing it for money, here in America you can still make a couple bucks, but there you're gonna be putting money out of your pocket all the time to make it. So the guys that are still surviving after COVID, they're there because they really love it. And if you see, they started this breed with the Camelots, and I think this is what makes you worry, because the Camelot
is she's making a really good point. I'll speak about that, but I really, really like these Camelot dogs. Now you talk to a real American Pit Bull Terrier person, and they will dismiss these dogs because they're obviously, they're not pure. They're whatever a pure Pit Bull is. It's obviously that they've been mixed probably with what American Bulldog or whatever, but maybe Doggy Bordeaux. I don't know what they've been mixed with, but they're big style American Pit Bull Terriers, and I like them. I think they're fantastic looking dogs. I would if I was into wanting something slightly on the aggressive side and I was a younger man, I would definitely would gear myself for something like this. But I try to hit these people up for an interview and talk about. I ended up getting the wife of this gentleman right here, and I've said it before on my podcast. Everything that you think about, like the animal world, it seemed like they were just real rude. And, when I ask for an interview, it isn't me coming at somebody in a disrespectful manner or anything like that. I just want, hey, I got a little budget podcast. Just want to talk about some dogs and hear about your story, and love to work something out. Let me know if this was something that you'd be interested in. Have a good day. And she was just like, do you understand what it takes to breed a bloodline? Have you ever bred a bloodline? And I just said, listen, I just asked you for an interview. I didn't ask. I don't know where your attitude's coming from. At first I thought it was him. And so I was really kind of went back at him like, go F yourself. And I talked to him like a man would talk to another man that was trying to get buck with him. And then she goes, well, I bet you thought I was my husband. And I said, well, I don't care who you were, but you're rude. But yeah. So even if they had the best dogs on earth, I would not talk to them, and I would not buy one of their dogs. Talk about some real fucking pieces of shit as far as I'm concerned. And I don't deal with pieces of shit. I don't care how nice your dogs are and how good of a dog breeder you are and how much of an enthusiast I am and how much I think that dog right there looks great. If you're a piece of shit and you're rude to customers and people that might be a customer or somebody who's trying to highlight your program, fuck you.
From 20 years ago, they were fighting hard. That's why we brought in the American Bulldog, to bring docility, to bring friendliness, to bring dogs that are social, to bring dogs that are friendly, like you're seeing in the footage. And all of my dogs can play together. I could never see them alone. So this is what I fell in love with.
I think you bring up a valid point. Camelot definitely raises a red flag. Also, I will say that even though for sure at some point American Bulldogs were crossed into the American Bully XL, I'm certain of that, along with Labrador Retrievers, Dalmatians, anything that was big. I will also say that maybe that was further back down the line, maybe 8-10 years ago. I remember 8 or 10 years ago, you could see the Cane Corso. You literally would go to a dog show and you'll see a Cane Corso with an American Bully ear crop. That's really what you were looking at, right? Yeah, my concern is that maybe this pit monster which is very evident if you look at it physically. You can see the lack of mastiff. Okay, and
There
so,
are no mastiff in the breed.
yeah, that
We don't even have Bordeaux in Brazil,
well.
for example.
I'm going to get to that here in a second, but my concern is that you have American Bulldog too close because you're still in the embryonic stage. And even though the American Bulldog, and I just been around your dog, and he's super friendly, we both know that the American Bulldog is a working line breed. And this is not a working line breed, this is a companion breed. And so my concern is that because the American Bulldog is maybe back 2 or only 3 generations, that the traits can still, see, in a litter you may have 2 pups that have working line temperaments.
That's a good point, and it's important to bring it out because I also want to bring up more awareness about the bulldogs that were used in Brazil to form the breed.
Okay.
They didn't get just any bulldogs. They only worked with the Sunshine Bulls line, which is actually the IBC's president's breed kennel.
Okay.
And she does not breed for function. She's been breeding for more than 25 years, and she's a veterinarian. She's very dedicated to health testing, and her dogs are all show dogs.
Okay.
So they are.
Couple of things. What she said about the businesses, I think I said something similar, like in previous episode, but she said earlier about the business. I agree. Like, so what if you've been doing it for 25 years, and then there's a business doing it for 5 years, and it doesn't matter if you've been doing it longer, who's going to be more successful. It's like there's a martial artist that I trained under for a very short time, for a couple of different times, but the first time was when he was first starting out, but now he's world famous. But anyway, his name's Matt Thornton. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, one of the, first 100 Americans to get his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But don't quote me on that. But a real talented guy, a real good teacher and all that, smart individual. But anyway, he had would teach this thing called aliveness, and he really spoke about it in early 2000s, late 90s, somewhere around there, and he created this curriculum within this martial arts program, which really focused on what it meant to be a real martial artist based on realism and to be a combat athlete, and what it meant to be an actual self-defense expert at the same time. And he likened it, he said, if he took a boxer that had been shadow boxing for 10 years and doing light sparring with, no real, leather to face type of thing, and just working on footwork, and would have all that down and would look really good in front of a mirror. And he would take a guy that had been doing it for 4 or 5 months, had no real footwork, but he would get in there and he would spar 3 or 4 times a week, and he learned how to take a punch and he learned how to give a punch. And then he'd put those two in the ring. Who's going to win the fight? What's the guy that's been taking the punches for the last 4 or 5 months and learning how to punch back? He has the confidence to understand, to withstand the actual fight. The guy that's been shadow boxing for 10, 12 years doesn't understand the aliveness of a real fight. And that to me is like kind of what she was saying. in essence, the Brazilian bulls are the aliveness of the dog, of the XL bully world. They're the dogs that were created with the girth, the wide chest, the big heads, all that in mind, and they used the dogs to be able to create it. And they're ahead of the curve, while the XL bullies, they were created to out of what I don't know, and the vision was what I don't know, and the dogs they used I don't know, and the direction they wanted to go I don't know. I don't think none of them really seemed to understand it, other than what wins in the ring and what the supposed standard is, and then they can't agree on the standard. I think you could take a dog like the Brazilian bull and you can eventually agree on a standard, because they have that unified look that everybody wants. You may disagree on certain aspects, and it's hard to get 2 people to agree or 10 people to agree. But the one thing that the Brazilian bulls have that the XL bully world supposedly wants is the size. And I'm not talking like the height and the weight and all that. I'm just talking the head size, the chest size, the girth, the bulliness.
He's now 3 times in my pedigrees of black opals that are open now. I already had 2 litters of pit monsters only, and that's my goal. I'm not bringing any XL American bullies to my program anymore. Only the ones that I have now.
That I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's something I brought up on the live the other night. If I was a pit monster breeder, I would be pissed off if you wanted to group my breed with, say, the American Bully XL. I would. Because my argument would be, if I was sitting on your chair, is why would I want to breed my non-mastiff large bully breed to your bully breed that has mastiff in it?
And Brazilian people already, the breeders over there, they don't want this face because they have already gotten to a consistent look. And how do you know that? All the breeders, when they see a dog from Brazil, whether they like it or not,
you know
they already pointing it's from Brazil.
Yeah.
So that means breed type. We already have breed type in 10 years. This is what I was comparing about the businesses. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have a business that is better established because of whatever reasons. We have a very selective and very modest gene pool in Brazil, especially when you're using only 1, 2, or 3 individuals of the American Bulldog. Like I said, they're not using just any American Bulldog. And funny thing that I've already seen people in America who trying to breed to American Bulldog to get the looks of the pit monsters.
Of course, and that's so here's the thing, right? We got cops coming in here all over the place. So here's the thing. I have definitely noticed that there is definitely more breed type in the breed altogether in the last 5 years. The movement is, and it's no secret, the movement is to a more bully or more bulldog-ish type of dog, which is what mainly the American Bully XL to a certain extent lacks because of the massive traits that were introduced. So no, definitely I could see where American Bully breeders are going to try to breed to Bulldog in order to bring that look in. I could definitely see that.
But if they choose the wrong American Bulldogs, they're going to bring temperament issues.
But you see, that's why I am concerned. Okay, you hit it on the head. I think you hit my concern on the head. My concern is somebody down here is going to say, "Oh, a pit monster is just an American Bulldog bred to an XL." Guess what? That's what I'm going to do. Then he's going to sell a litter, and now we have a loaded gun.
But they're not going to be sold as pit monsters because to be a pit monster, they're going to have to go through the IBC.
So you see where my main concern is, that people want to get a shortcut, and you really don't know what you're doing. You're putting a big animal with working line temperament.
I understand, but I also understand that this can be done. We're here as we speak.
Yes.
There's people breeding dogs.
For sure, for
Big
sure.
dogs there, basically. But I promise you, we have been working with ABKC. We have been working, not me, but IBC.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm not affiliated because I'm kind of the representative of the big monsters here in America.
Okay.
And I have a good relationship with Dave. And we are trying to, and I'm going to tell you, he's already denied some of the dogs that I will report. So they have a criteria.
I'm glad to hear that because you don't get that information.
Yeah, I've had dogs. Well, I had one dog denied because before I report them, I make sure that they're going to be accepted by the ABKC because, of course,
Otherwise,
I'm not
expenditure. Yeah.
I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. This is a business for me, and I'm going to invest a lot of money. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite because if I invest a lot of money to bring these dogs, I want to make sure that I have ABKC papers.
Sure.
That was 3 years ago. Now, I've had some dogs that I wanted to bring, so I did a process, and one of them was denied. So I said, okay, what do I do? I think that I started bringing the big monsters and bringing them to grade XL bullies. That was my best strategy to introduce these dogs to the market so people would see what they can produce.
Right.
But now that I started having my own litters and another couple of other breeders are already doing this, breeding pit monsters to pit monsters. Because we already said, people already recognize the dogs. I don't need to use the XL bullies anymore because I don't want to bring some traits that are the XL bullies. For example, it's a fault for the pit monsters or the Brazilian bulls. Get used to this name. I'm going to always say bull because we are in the midst of changing the name just for obvious reasons. We don't want to have pits for airlines, transporting dogs for
Sure.
For private neighborhoods that have HOAs. They do for.
I have to wonder if she bred the pit monsters, Brazilian dogs, to her bullies because she knew that the bullies were lacking. So it was more of a business decision as much as it was to try to introduce the Brazilian bulls into the world. Kind of have a feeling that might be part of it, but yeah, I'm cynical. I know this is a business and people use what they can and what they get their hands on. I don't know. I think there are some good XL bullies out there that may lack like certain size, but if a Brazilian dog is too overdone, then I would want to bring back some athleticism in the dog or something. I would go to a nice XL bully, but I don't think that's necessarily what bully people are into.